The deep space scanner made a soft beeping sound. Commander Tai-Min looked up from his morning coffee and walked over to the control panel. The Galactic Council monitoring station on Kepler 442b was usually quiet. Most days, nothing happened, except routine checks and supply ship arrivals. But today was different. Tai-Min stared at the screen. A large ship was moving through space about 2 million kilometers away. The computer showed it was a human colony vessel called the UES Serenity. According to the files, it carried 50,000 humans who were supposed to start a new colony. On a planet 3 sectors away, something was wrong with the ship. Tai-Min called Hana to the control room. She was the station's xenobiologist, which meant she studied different alien species and how they lived. Hana had worked with humans before and knew their behavior patterns well. "Look at this," Tai-Min said, pointing to the scanner readings. "This human ship has been drifting for 3 months. No distress signals, no communications, just basic life support running." Hana frowned as she read the data. Human colony ships were usually very active places. People would be working, talking on communication channels, and getting ready to land on their new planet. The Serenity should have been buzzing with activity. Instead, the ship moved through space like a ghost. "Have you tried contacting them?" Hana asked. "Not yet. I wanted you to see this first." Tai-Min pressed a button and called Ji-Woo to the control room. Ji-Woo was their communications officer. She had long experience talking to ships from many different species. If anyone could reach the humans, it would be her. Ji-Woo arrived quickly. She was young but very good at her job. She looked at the scanner readings and shook her head. "This is strange," Ji-Woo said. "Human ships always answer calls. They are very social creatures. They like to talk." "Try to contact them," Tai-Min ordered. Ji-Woo sat at her station and opened a communication channel. She used the standard Galactic Council frequency that all ships were supposed to monitor. "UES Serenity, this is Kepler Station. Please respond." They waited. Nothing. Ji-Woo tried again with different frequencies. She used emergency channels, diplomatic channels, and even entertainment channels. Humans often left their entertainment systems running even during problems. Still nothing. "Not even automated responses," Ji-Woo said. "Every ship has automated systems that answer basic calls. Even if everyone was asleep, the computer should respond." Hana studied the ship's energy readings more carefully. Life support was running. Normally, the engines were working at minimum power to keep the ship moving. Internal lights were on. Everything looked normal from the outside. "Wait," Hana said. "Look at the external lights." The ship's outside warning lights were blinking, but not in any pattern they recognized. It was not a distress signal. It was not a navigation pattern. The lights turned on and off in a strange rhythm that seemed almost random. Tai-Min watched the blinking lights for several minutes. Something about the pattern made him feel uncomfortable, though he could not say why. The lights seemed to be trying to communicate something, but the message was not in any language or code he knew. "Ji-Woo, record that light pattern and run it through the translation computer," Tai-Min said. "Already doing it," Ji-Woo replied, "but the computer says it is not any known communication system." Hana stepped back from the scanner. She was a Vorthon, and her species had strong instincts about danger. Right now, those instincts were telling her something was very wrong with the human ship. "Commander," she said quietly, "I think we should be careful. This does not feel right." "What do you mean?" "I have studied humans for many years. They are loud, active, and curious. They always want to explore and communicate. This silence is not natural for them." Tai-Min nodded. He had worked with humans before, too. They were usually eager to make friends with other species. They asked lots of questions and shared information freely. The silence from the Serenity was completely unlike normal human behavior. Could they all be dead? Jiwoo asked. The life support readings suggest people are still alive on the ship, Hana said. But something is definitely wrong. Tae-min made a decision. We need to board that ship and find out what happened. Hana looked worried. Commander, maybe we should call for help first. Send a message to the main Galactic Council fleet. That would take days for them to arrive. If there are survivors on that ship, they might not have days, Jiwoo interrupted them. Commander, I am getting something strange from the ship's automatic beacon. What kind of strange? The beacon is broadcasting the ship's status as normal, all systems working, all crew healthy, mission proceeding as planned. But the timestamp on the beacon is wrong. Wrong how? It says the message was sent yesterday, but the signal patterns show it is actually 3 months old. Like the ship's computer thinks no time has passed, but the message has been traveling through space for months. Tae-min and Hana looked at each other. This was getting more mysterious and more troubling. There is something else, Jiwoo continued. I am detecting very faint communication signals from inside the ship, but they are not on any normal frequency, and they are not in any human language I recognize. Play them, Tae-min ordered. Jiwoo adjusted her equipment and put the signals through the speakers. A soft sound filled the control room. It was like whispers, but not quite whispers. Like voices talking very quietly and very far away. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The 3 aliens listened to the strange sounds for several minutes. None of them could understand what was being said, but all of them felt increasingly uncomfortable. Hana was the first to speak. Turn it off. Why? Tae-min asked. Because listening to it makes me feel like something is watching me. Jiwoo quickly turned off the speakers. The control room became quiet again. But the feeling of being watched did not go away. Tae-min looked at the image of the Serenity on the main screen. The ship looked normal. It looked like any other human colony vessel. But now he could see what Hana meant about something being wrong. There was something about the ship that made him want to look away. We still need to board it, he said finally. 50,000 humans do not just disappear. Whatever happened to them, we need to find out. I will go with you, Hana said. And me, Jiwoo added. Tae-min shook his head. Jiwoo, you stay here and monitor communications. If something happens to the boarding team, you need to call for help. As they began preparing for the boarding mission, none of them noticed that the strange blinking lights on the Serenity had changed pattern. The new pattern seemed to be responding to their conversation as if something on the ship had been listening to everything they said. The Serenity continued its slow drift through space, waiting silently for visitors to come aboard. The boarding shuttle moved slowly toward the UES Serenity. Commander Tae-min piloted the small ship while Hana checked her equipment. Won-ho, the Kepler security chief, sat in the back seat holding his weapon ready. Su-jin, their tech specialist, was busy scanning the human ship with her portable devices. The docking bay is open, Tae-min said. That is strange. Colony ships usually keep their bays closed during travel. Maybe they were expecting visitors, Won-ho suggested. Hana shook her head. Humans are careful about security. They would not leave a docking bay open in deep space. The shuttle entered the Serenity's docking bay. Bright lights turned on automatically as they landed. The bay looked completely normal. Tools hung on walls in neat rows. Supply containers were stacked properly. Everything was clean and organized, but there were no people. The 4 aliens put on their breathing masks and left their shuttle. The air in the docking bay was safe for most species, but they wanted to be careful. Their footsteps echoed in the empty space. "Hello?" Wonho called out. "Is anyone here?" His voice echoed back from the metal walls. No one answered. Sujin checked her scanner. Life support is perfect. Air is clean. Temperature is exactly right for humans. But I am not detecting any people nearby. They walked to the door that led into the main ship. The door opened automatically when they approached. The hallway beyond was dimly lit but clean. Their footsteps sounded very loud in the quiet corridor. "This place feels wrong," Hana whispered. "What do you mean?" Taimin asked. "It is too clean, too organized. Humans are messy creatures. They leave things lying around. They make noise. This ship feels like no one has lived here for years." They walked through several corridors. All the doors were closed, but they opened when the aliens approached. Inside the rooms, they found personal belongings exactly where humans would leave them. Clothes hung in closets. Pictures of families sat on small tables. Books lay open as if someone had been reading them just moments before. In the dining hall, they found something that made them all stop walking. Tables were set for meals. Food sat on plates, but the food was not spoiled. It looked fresh, like it had been prepared that morning. Cups contained drinks that were still warm, but every chair was empty. "Someone was eating here recently," Sujin said. She touched one of the cups. "This coffee is still hot." Wonho looked around the dining hall carefully. "Where did they go? People do not just disappear in the middle of eating." Hana walked to one of the tables and looked at the food more closely. "This is human breakfast food. Eggs, bread, some kind of fruit drink. But look at the portions." The others gathered around the table. Each plate had very small amounts of food. Just a few bites of eggs, a small piece of bread, half a cup of juice. "Maybe they were not very hungry," Wonho said. "Or maybe they were interrupted," Taimin suggested. Sujin was scanning the room with her equipment. "I am detecting human DNA everywhere. Lots of it. Like thousands of humans have been in this room recently." "But where are they now?" Wonho asked. They left the dining hall and continued exploring. In the residential areas, they found more signs of recent human activity. Beds were unmade. Water was running in some bathrooms. Lights were on in personal rooms, but still no people. Sujin stopped at a communication panel on the wall. "Let me contact the station and give them an update." She pressed the button to call Kepler Station. Minnie's voice came through clearly. "This is Minne at Kepler Station. How is the boarding mission going?" "We are inside the ship," Sujin reported. "Everything looks normal, but we have not found any humans yet. The ship shows signs that people were here very recently." "That is strange," Minne said. "My sensors show that all 50,000 humans are still on the ship. The biometric scanners detect their life signs clearly." The boarding team looked at each other with surprise. "Minne, we have searched many areas of the ship," Taimin said into the communicator. "We have not seen a single person." "According to my readings, there should be people all around you. The life signs are very strong." Hana felt a chill run down her back. If the sensors showed humans nearby, but they could not see any humans, then something was very wrong. "Minne, can you tell us exactly where the life signs are strongest?" she asked. "Let me check." The strongest readings are coming from the dining hall you just left, and from the corridor you are standing in right now. Wonho raised his weapon and looked around carefully. The corridor was empty. They could see from one end to the other. There was nowhere for people to hide. "Mine, there is no one here," he said. "The sensors disagree with you. According to my equipment, you are standing in the middle of a crowd of humans." Sujin activated her own life sign scanner. The device immediately started beeping rapidly. It showed dozens of human life signs all around them, but they could see nothing. "This is impossible," she whispered. Taemin moved to a wall panel and accessed the ship's internal security system. "Let me check the security cameras. Maybe we can see what happened." The screen activated and showed camera views from all over the ship. In every camera, they could see humans walking around, talking to each other, and doing normal activities. The timestamp on the cameras showed the current time and date. "Look," Taemin said, pointing to one camera view. "That is the dining hall. People are eating there right now." But when they looked back toward the dining hall, it was still empty. Hana stared at the security screen. "The cameras show people, but we cannot see them with our eyes. The sensors detect them, but they are not there." "Maybe the cameras are showing old recordings," Wonho suggested. Sujin checked the system. "No, these are live feeds, and look at this." She pointed to one of the camera screens. "That human just walked past the corridor we are standing in." They all turned to look at the corridor. It was empty. But on the security screen, they could clearly see a human walking through the exact spot where they were standing. "We need to go deeper into the ship," Taemin said. "Something is happening here that we do not understand." As they walked further into the Serenity, none of them noticed the shadows that seemed to move just outside their vision. They did not see the figures that appeared for just a moment when they were not looking directly at them, but the security cameras recorded everything. And in the control room of Kepler Station, Minnie watched her screens with growing concern. The life sign readings were getting stronger. Whatever was on the human ship was becoming more active. It was responding to the presence of the boarding team. The boarding team reached the central part of the Serenity. This area contained the ship's main computer systems and the captain's quarters. Taemin hoped they would find answers here. Hana's equipment started making new sounds. The devices she used to study alien biology were detecting something unusual. "My scanners are going crazy," she said. "I am reading massive biological signatures throughout this entire section of the ship." "What kind of biological signatures?" Wonho asked. "That is the problem. They do not match any known species in my database. They are not human readings, but they are not anything else either." Sujin was working at a computer terminal. "I am accessing the ship's personal logs. Maybe the humans left messages about what happened to them." The screen filled with a list of recorded messages. Most were from the early days of the journey, when everything was normal. But the dates of the final entries caught their attention. "Look at this," Sujin said. "The last log entries were recorded just 3 days ago. But the ship has been drifting silently for 3 months." She played the most recent message. A human woman appeared on the screen. She looked tired and confused. "Personal log, colonist Yunji, day 97 of the journey. Something strange is happening to us. People have been reporting shared dreams. We all dream the same things. At the same time, in the dreams we can see through walls and float through empty space." The recording continued. "Yesterday I lost 4 hours of time. I remember eating breakfast and then suddenly it was afternoon. Other people are having the same experience. We feel like something is watching us. But when we look around, we see nothing unusual." Wonho frowned. Shared dreams? That is not normal for any species. Hana was studying her biological scanners more carefully. The readings I am getting suggest that whatever is on this ship exists in a different way than normal life forms. The signatures appear and disappear. They seem to exist in multiple locations at the same time. Sujin played another log entry. This one was from a human man named Dong Hyun. The dreams are getting stronger. Last night, I dreamed I was standing in the engine room, but my body was still in bed. I could see the engines working, but I could also see through them to the metal, walls behind them. When I woke up, I knew exactly how the engines worked, even though I had never studied engineering. The log continued. People are starting to move differently. They walk very quietly through the halls. They do not make noise when they eat or talk. Sometimes I see someone from the corner of my eye, but when I turn to look at them directly, they are gone. Tae-min felt uncomfortable. That sounds like the behavior we observed on the security cameras. Humans moving around, but disappearing when looked at directly. They found the ship's main computer core. Sujin connected her equipment and began downloading information. What she found made her step back from the computer in shock. "This is impossible," she said. "What did you find?" Tae-min asked. "According to the ship's sensors, all 50,000 humans are still on board. But the computer also shows that they underwent some kind of biological change about 3 months ago. Their life signs became different." "Different how?" Hana asked. "The computer describes it as a transition to a non-physical state. It says, the humans evolved beyond normal biological limits." Wonho laughed, but it was not a happy sound. People do not just evolve in 3 months. Evolution takes thousands of years. "Not for humans," Hana said quietly. "Humans are different from other species. They adapt very quickly to new situations, much faster than anyone thought possible." Sujin continued reading the computer data. The ship's medical systems recorded the entire process. The humans did not die or disappear. They changed into something that can exist between physical and non-physical states. "What does that mean?" Wonho demanded. "It means they can choose to be visible or invisible. They can move through solid objects when they want to. They can exist in multiple places at the same time." Tae-min contacted Min-ai at the station. "Min-ai, we need you to scan for unusual energy patterns around the ship. Look for anything that does not fit normal physics." "I am already detecting strange readings," Min-ai replied. "There are energy patterns around the Serenity that I have never seen before. They seem to be moving in organized groups, like they have intelligence and purpose." Hana's equipment suddenly started showing massive biological activity all around them. Something is happening. The life signs are getting much stronger. The air in the corridor seemed to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot ground. Shadows moved at the edges of their vision. The temperature dropped several degrees in just a few seconds. "We are not alone anymore," Wonho said, raising his weapon. Sujin was still reading from the computer. "Listen to this. The final log entry from the ship's captain says that the transformation was not an accident. The humans chose to change." She read from the screen. "Captain's log, final entry. The evolution is complete. We have become something new. We can see the entire galaxy now, not just with our eyes, but with our minds. We understand things that were hidden from us before. We know that other species have been watching humanity, studying us, waiting to see what we would become." The recording continued. "We are not dead. We are more alive than we ever were before. We can travel instantly to any place we can imagine. We can observe without being seen. We can learn without being detected. This is what humanity was meant to become. Taemin felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold air. They evolved into the perfect spies. Not just spies, Hana said, looking at her scanners. According to these readings, the transformed humans have abilities we cannot even understand. They can exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. Min-A's voice came through the communicator with urgency. Commander, I am detecting similar energy patterns around other locations in the galaxy. There are dozens of them, all near places where humans have established colonies or outposts. How many locations? Taemin asked. At least 50, maybe more. The patterns are identical to what I am seeing around the Serenity. Won-Ho lowered, his weapon slowly. 50 locations means thousands of humans have undergone this transformation. Or hundreds of thousands, Sujin corrected. Each colony ship carries tens of thousands of people. The implications of what they were learning began to sink in. Humans had not just evolved on one ship. This was happening throughout the galaxy, at every human settlement. Hana studied her readings more carefully. The biological patterns suggest that the transformed humans are connected to each other somehow, like they share consciousness across vast distances. A network, Taemin said. They are all linked together. That explains the shared dreams mentioned in the logs, Sujin added. They were not dreams. They were experiencing each other's consciousness. Min-A's voice interrupted their discussion. Commander, you need to return to the station immediately. I am detecting that the energy patterns are spreading. Whatever the humans have become, it is affecting other ships in the area. But before anyone could respond, the air around them shimmered more brightly. Figures began to appear in the corridor. They were translucent, like ghosts, but clearly recognizable as humans. One of them stepped forward. It was the woman from the log recordings, Yoon-ji. She looked at the alien boarding team with eyes that seemed to see through them and beyond them at the same time. Welcome to our ship, she said. Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere, like an echo in a vast, empty space. We have been waiting for you to find us. The boarding team stood frozen, uncertain whether they were looking at friends or at something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Yoon-ji stood before the alien boarding team like a living ghost. Her form flickered between solid and transparent. Sometimes she looked completely normal, like any other human. Other times she seemed to fade away until only her outline remained visible. Do not be afraid, she said. Her voice was gentle but strange. It seemed to come from inside their heads rather than from her mouth. We mean no harm to you or your people. Won-Ho kept his weapon ready but did not point it at her. What happened to you? What happened to all the humans on this ship? We evolved, Yoon-ji answered simply. Space is vast and empty and lonely. Our bodies were not made for traveling between stars for years at a time, so we became something that could survive the journey better. More figures appeared in the corridor around them. Taemin recognized some faces from the personal logs they had found. Dong-hyun materialized next to a wall, his form shimmering like water. Other humans appeared and disappeared as if they were testing their ability to be seen. This transformation, Hana said carefully. Did it hurt? Did people die during the process? No one died, Dong-hyun replied. Death is an old concept that no longer applies to us. We simply became more than what we were before. Sujin was still holding her scanner, and the device was showing readings she had never seen before. My equipment says you exist in multiple locations at the same time. How is that possible? Yunji smiled, and for a moment she looked completely human again. Your science understands only 3 dimensions. We have learned to exist in many more. We can be here and also be in other places throughout the galaxy. Other places? Tai Min asked. What other places? Everywhere humans have gone, we can go, Dong Hyun explained. Every colony, every space station, every ship. We are connected to each other across any distance. Won-ho felt his blood grow cold. You mean there are transformed humans at every human settlement in the galaxy? Yes. And we have been exploring beyond human settlements as well. The alien boarding team looked at each other with growing alarm. If transformed humans could travel instantly to any location, that meant they could go anywhere in the galaxy without being detected. Have you been to our worlds? Hana asked quietly. Yunji nodded. We have visited many worlds belonging to many species. We wanted to understand the galaxy we are sharing with you. What did you learn? Tai Min demanded. We learned that most species fear each other unnecessarily. We learned that many conflicts happen because people do not understand each other. We learned that the galaxy would be more peaceful if someone could watch and prevent problems before they became wars. Dong Hyun stepped closer to the group. When he moved, his form seemed to flow rather than walk. We have been preventing conflicts for months now. Small actions that stop big problems from starting. What kind of actions? Won-ho asked suspiciously. Delivering messages between leaders who refuse to communicate, sharing scientific discoveries that help solve resource problems, moving objects that were causing disputes to neutral locations. Soo-jin was recording everything with her equipment. You have been interfering in galactic politics without anyone knowing? We have been helping, Yunji corrected. 3 wars were prevented in the last month alone. Thousands of lives were saved. Food shortages were avoided on 12 different worlds. But you did this without permission, Tai Min pointed out. Without anyone even knowing you were involved. Would you have given us permission? Dong Hyun asked. Would any species have allowed humans to become invisible guardians of galactic peace? The question hung in the air. The boarding team knew the answer. Most species were suspicious of human expansion into space. The idea of humans having the power to go anywhere undetected would terrify every government in the galaxy. Hana spoke. Carefully. What you are describing sounds like you have become puppet masters. You pull strings behind the scenes to make things happen the way you want them to happen. We prefer the term silent guardians, Yunji said. We protect without being seen. We help without being thanked. We prevent suffering without taking credit. But who decides what needs to be prevented? Won-ho challenged. Who gave you the right to decide what is best for the entire galaxy? Dong Hyun's form flickered more rapidly, as if the question made him agitated. We see connections that others cannot see. We understand how small actions in one place can cause big problems in another place. We have the ability to fix things before they break. That does not answer my question, Won-ho insisted. Who gave you that authority? The universe did, Yunji replied. When we evolved beyond physical limitations, we gained the ability to see the patterns that connect all life. We cannot ignore suffering when we have the power to prevent it. Tai Min activated his communicator. Min-A, are you hearing this? Conversation? Yes, Commander. And I have been scanning the galaxy while you talked. The energy signatures I am detecting suggest that transformed humans are present near every major government center, every military base, and every important scientific facility in known space. The boarding team felt a chill at this news. The transformed humans had not just evolved. They had positioned themselves to observe and influence everything important that happened in the galaxy. "You have been spying on everyone," Hana said. "We have been watching," Dong-hyun corrected. "There is a difference. Spies steal secrets for their own benefit. We observe to understand how to help." "And what have you learned from watching our governments and military bases?" Taemin asked. Yoonji and Dong-hyun looked at each other. Even in their transformed state, they could clearly communicate without words. "We learned that most species are preparing for conflicts that will never happen," Yoonji said finally. "Fear makes people build weapons and barriers against imaginary enemies. We learned that leaders often make decisions based on incomplete information," Dong-hyun added. "They cannot see the full consequences of their actions." "So you have been correcting their decisions?" Wonho asked. "Sometimes. Small corrections that prevent big mistakes." Sujin was studying the readings from her scanner. "According to my equipment, there are thousands of you on this ship alone. But we can only see a few of you. Most of us are busy elsewhere," Yoonji explained. "We can divide our consciousness. Part of us can be here talking to you, while other parts are working in different locations throughout the galaxy." "Working on what?" Taemin demanded. "Right now, we are preventing a border dispute between the Kepler Federation and the Vorthan Empire from escalating into military action. We are helping scientists on 3 different worlds solve food production problems. We are moving asteroid mining equipment away from shipping lanes to prevent accidents." The implications were staggering. The transformed humans were not just observing galactic civilization, they were actively managing it, making countless small adjustments to keep everything running smoothly. "Does humanity's government on Earth know about this evolution?" Hana asked. "Some of them are becoming like us," Dong-hyun replied. "The change is spreading to humans everywhere, not just those traveling in space." Mine's voice came through the communicator with urgency. "Commander, I am detecting that the transformation is accelerating. More human settlements are showing the same energy patterns every hour." The boarding team realized they were witnessing the birth of something unprecedented in galactic history. Humanity was not just joining the community of spacefaring species. They were becoming its invisible rulers. The meeting room at Kepler Station had never felt so small. Commander Taemin sat across from representatives of 12 different galactic governments. Everyone was talking at once, and no one was listening to anyone else. 3 days had passed since the boarding team returned from the Serenity. 3 days since they learned that humanity had evolved into invisible guardians watching every corner of the galaxy. "This is unacceptable," declared Ambassador Kyung-soo from the Vorthan Empire. "No single species should have the power to observe our governments without permission." "The humans claim they are helping us," replied Representative Min-ai from the Kepler Federation. "Our analysis shows that galactic conflicts have decreased by 60% in the past 3 months. "That is exactly the problem," Kyung-soo shot back. "We did not ask for their help. We do not know what else they might be doing while they watch us." Taemin tried to bring order to the discussion. "The question is not whether the humans are helping or harming us. The question is how we deal with a species that can go anywhere and see everything without being detected." Wonho, who had returned with the boarding team, spoke from his seat near the wall. "During our time on the Serenity, the transformed humans demonstrated abilities that our science cannot explain. They can exist in multiple locations simultaneously. They can pass through solid matter. They can communicate instantly across any distance. Which means they could be in this room right now, Hana added quietly. They could be listening to every word we say. The room fell silent as this realization sank in. Everyone looked around nervously, as if expecting to see ghostly human figures materializing in the corners. Sujin activated her portable scanner. The device immediately began detecting biological signatures that did not match any of the aliens in the room. They are here, she confirmed. At least a dozen human life signs. But I cannot see them. Ambassador Kyung-soo stood up angrily. This proves my point. They spy on us even during our private discussions about how to deal with them. A familiar voice filled the room, though no speaker was visible. It was Yoonji, the transformed human. They had met on the Serenity. We are not spying. We are participating. This discussion affects us, so we have a right to be involved. More voices joined hers. Dong-hyun materialized partially near the main table, his form flickering between visible and transparent. We understand your concerns, he said. You are afraid because you cannot control us or predict what we will do. You are correct, Taemin replied. Your abilities make it impossible for us to have secrets or privacy. How can we maintain our independence when you can observe everything we do? Yoonji's voice came from a different part of the room, though she remained invisible. You still have your independence. We do not control your decisions. We only prevent the consequences of those decisions from causing unnecessary suffering. But who decides what constitutes unnecessary suffering? Demanded Ambassador Kyung-soo. You are making moral judgments that affect entire civilizations. We make practical judgments, Dong-hyun corrected. We see patterns that you cannot see. We understand how events in one star system can cause problems in another star system. Months later, Hana activated her communication device and connected to the Galactic Information Network. I have been researching the changes that have occurred in the past 3 months. The transformed humans are correct about the reduction in conflicts, but there have been other changes as well. She displayed data on the room's main screen. Resource distribution has become more efficient. Scientific discoveries are being shared between species faster than ever before. Several potential ecological disasters were prevented by unknown causes. Unknown causes that we now know were human intervention, Wonho observed. The question, Taemin said, is whether we can accept this arrangement. Can our civilizations coexist with a species that has the power to watch and influence everything we do? Sujin was studying her scanner readings more carefully. According to my equipment, the number of transformed humans is growing rapidly. The process is spreading to human populations throughout the galaxy. How rapidly? Asked Minnie. At the current rate, most of humanity will have undergone the transformation within a year. The implications were staggering. Soon there would be millions of invisible humans spread throughout galactic space, all connected to each other, all capable of observing and influencing events anywhere. Yoonji's voice spoke again. We understand your fear. But consider this. For the first time in galactic history, there is a species capable of preventing wars before they start, of solving problems before they become crises, of ensuring that resources reach those who need them most. At the cost of our privacy and autonomy, Kyung-soo replied. Your privacy was always limited, Dong-hyun pointed out. Your governments spy on each other constantly. Your corporations steal secrets. Your military forces gather intelligence. We are simply more efficient at it. Hana had been quiet during most of the discussion, but now she spoke up. There is another way to look at this situation. Humanity has become something that can bridge the gaps between species. They can see all perspectives simultaneously. What do you mean? Taemin asked. Think about it. They exist in a state that allows them to observe everyone without being limited by the physical and cultural barriers that separate the rest of us. They might be the first truly neutral species in galactic history. Wonho frowned. Neutral, or simply more subtle in their control? Yunji materialized fully in the center of the room. For a moment, she looked like any other human diplomat. We propose a formal arrangement. We will continue our work as silent guardians, preventing conflicts and solving problems. In exchange, we will establish communication channels with your governments. You will know when we intervene, even if you cannot always see us doing it. And if we refuse this arrangement, asked Ambassador Kyung-soo, then we will continue our work anyway, Dong-hyun replied, also becoming visible. We cannot ignore suffering when we have the power to prevent it, but we prefer to work with your cooperation rather than despite your opposition. Taemin realized that this was not really a negotiation. The transformed humans were not asking for permission to continue their activities. They were offering to be more transparent about actions they were already taking and would continue to take regardless of opposition. You are not really giving us a choice, he observed. We are giving you the choice of whether to work with us or against us, Yunji corrected. But you are correct that we will not stop protecting galactic civilization simply because some people prefer chaos and conflict to peace and cooperation. Sujin checked her scanner again. The number of human signatures in this room is increasing. More of them are arriving to observe this discussion. Min-ai stood up slowly. Perhaps the question is not whether we can accept this situation, but whether we can learn to benefit from it. The room fell quiet as everyone considered this perspective. Taemin looked around the room, knowing that invisible human observers were watching his every expression. For the first time in galactic history, there was a species that could see everything, go anywhere, and act without being detected. It was terrifying. It was also, he had to admit, remarkably effective at maintaining peace. He made his decision. We will establish the communication channels you propose. We will work with you rather than against you. But we reserve the right to reconsider this arrangement if your definition of helping begins to look too much like controlling. Yunji smiled. That is all we ask. Cooperation, not submission. As the meeting ended and the various representatives prepared to return to their governments, none of them noticed the shadows that seemed to follow them out of the room. The transformed humans had been watching galactic civilization for months without anyone knowing. Now that everyone knew, they would continue watching. The only difference was that now they would no longer need to hide.